Yeah, this is so helpful. I mean, all of this stuff, like I've created on my own. Like I haven't really talked to anybody about these things. So
Mm.
it's fun, like getting feedback and just hearing your perspective of what you're picking up on. Okay.
They're beautiful. And like also I thought it was wild that when I was looking at your pictures, the coloring you have in the background from Joshua Tree
Oh yeah,
reminds me of
that's beautiful.
the colors we saw when we were there.
So the purple and the red.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that was something that came through in in my session. Like my business has color coding, right? And it's activating. Like it activates the people that are drawn to it. And so that's like just really validating that like you're feeling that.
Yeah.
And then when I was just creating the graphics, I just was like, all right, just show me what I'm supposed to incorporate. Like this, the Joshua tree, it feels like it's more red in ways,
Hmm.
which is interesting because we're really going to be focusing on eliminating and letting
Hmm.
go. And I feel like really that's the essence of cleansing for me.
Mm.
And even just in spiritual practice, right, is letting go of the things that we have been deceived to carry
Mm.
in ways,
Yeah.
and really just shedding. It's just a constant shedding. There's even like a breath practice that just focuses on your exhale and
Mm.
exhale, like and exhale, and you naturally will inhale doing this. And so it's kind of the same concept, like from a spiritual practice of just allowing ourselves to focus on the letting go and the releasing. And naturally, we make space for what is naturally for us. Like it just naturally comes in. And
Beautiful.
so I love the simplicity of looking at cleansing in that way. What I see for those that join is really just a renewed sense of themselves, a
Mm.
deepening in their own authenticity and who they are without any self judgments, you know, just a clarity of being. I see for those that join. We're going to be doing a 3 day juice cleanse, and it's going to taper off so that before everybody leaves, they will have broken their cleanse.
Mm.
But for those of you that are really feeling called to be a bridge, it's like where your spirituality feels almost separate from your body. I think
Mm.
this is an incredible opportunity to really bring yourself back into your body in deeper levels and more into the present moment. And if you feel like things have been hard or challenging or just life has been chaotic in general, there's a lot of noise going on that feels distracting. This may really be the right retreat for you in really clearing out that stuff that's really not serving you and being present and moving forward. And I know we'll talk more about the astrological alignment too, but it's just a really powerful time for personal purpose, and really integrating into what that is for each of us. So, if I had to chunk it down to one word, it's authenticity, right?
Mm.
And they say that that's our highest state of frequency to embody.
Hmm.
Agreed.
Our highest expression. Yeah.
The definition of like spiritual fasting, from what I understand from the research that I've done, really has to do with only drinking juice and eliminating toxins, on a mental, emotional, and spiritual level. When you abstain from, really, it's just like putting the minimum into your body.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, what I call cleansing is exactly that. Ideally, like I think when we truly listen to our body, we are we're kind of naturally in a place of not putting toxins into our body. um
Yeah.
and so I feel like with the definition of spiritual fasting, there can really be like a way of life that's incorporated in just spirituality. And when I think of fasting as a holistic practitioner, I think of giving all of the organs in the body a break,
Yeah.
like an actual rest when I think of fasting. And
Mhm.
when you're juicing, so a lot of times like, people will just water fast for a day, which is a really great thing to do. I mean, I know people that do it once a week, every Sunday they water fast, or they just pick a day and that's kind of their practice. But just to give the organs like a break. When we cleanse, it's not always a full break from things because they're still working and clearing things out, especially depending on the body and how much is built up. So I hope that makes sense to you guys, and I felt like that was important to share.
Clarifying that,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it was really fun discussing, some of the ingredients you have planned for the retreat and like hearing like how much science you know on how, because in science science and like metaphysics, it's like our brain, our heart, and our gut are three different brains, right? And like so it's like how we treat each organ is like super significant, and like I know that you've picked these ingredients specifically to not busy those organs and to give them that rest that you're talking about.
Yeah, the biggest focus that I have to support the organs is is maintaining a balanced blood sugar level. And really what that involves, and I can, I know I shared this with you guys, but a typical cleanse for me, like a true cleanse, involves no protein, no starch, no sugars, um, and we really really no fungal feeding foods. Um, so we're really gonna focus on just like a pure diet. We'll do 3 days of juicing, and then we're gonna slowly integrate back into whole foods. So everyone will have broken their cleanse before they leave. Um, and also, one thing that's really important to me is just the first day that everyone arrives, I'll be doing testing with everybody in a group setting just to make sure, because there may be some variations for what somebody, what one person needs versus another. So we're gonna get all of that mapped out and into play the first day that we're all together.
That's going to
Cool.
be so fun.
I love that.
I know we've been talking a lot about the food ideas, and you guys have some really incredible ideas too to bring to the table. I was curious what you might want to share with those listening, um, how you plan on, just what you plan to do with the food source of everything, and
Yeah. Well,
feeling into that.
we really want to support local farmers, local farms in the indigenous land, and kind of support the sacredness of being at this location and doing this kind of healing journey. And so we're researching and trying to find different local farms that provide the juicing cleanse produce that we're after, and the raw and whole food produce that we're after to kind of come out of the cleansing portion of it. So yeah, we think it would be really nice to um, bring in as many locals, and as well as try to eliminate as much waste as we can, because we don't want to go do big grocery shopping trips and have this waste and plastic, and kind of honor the earth as much as we can in the process.
The other part is getting food locally, getting herbs, medicine, right? Because food is medicine for our body. It's like going and getting that locally kind of carries like almost like light codes, or carries like a spirit or an
Mm,
energy of like whatever that plant is meant to create in the body. And
mm.
Tawni, I know you've got some powerful herbs. You're like the genius of herbs and like plant medicine, and like you're like, I want you to like release like a fairy, herb book at some point so I can read all the details and study um, for my own practice, but I think connecting with Joshua trees, actual herbs that they have available, will be really, really powerful for the experience of those who attend.
Yeah, and connecting with that specific sacred land too.
I
Yeah.
love that.
That's a little
Yes.
bit.
Yeah, and I feel that you're completely, onto it in the way of the codes of Joshua Tree, right? The energy that's there. Um, for those of you that haven't been to Joshua Tree, it's so revealing in different ways, and there's such a majestic nature there, as well as a revealing nature. And
Mhm.
so the more I think that we're there and we're feeling into all of this, and we're really focused on renewal and restoration and um, allowing ourselves to set these incredible intentions for ourselves spiritually, and supporting the body through that process is so amazing. Like, it for me, this is what like, really renewal is about, and what a powerful time during spring equinox to be doing this at the start, really the start of the renewal season. And I know, Cassie, you've been doing some research on things astrologically. Um, and when I originally picked these dates, I knew we were going to be right between um, the full moon lunar eclipse, which is happening on March 14th, and the new moon solar eclipse.
Mhm.
And so this equinox is right between those two. And just the general theme that I'm aware of is in just a really incredible time for transformation, for understanding these deeper layers of ourself, as far as like what's coming forward in how we show up. Identity is a huge thing too. And I know, um, I just want to share, because if anybody's experiencing skin issues or skin symptoms, this could be a really powerful retreat for you as well.
From the time that we start the retreat to this point in March, there's going to be this situation happening between Pisces and Virgo, which brings up what are you doing of service? It's highlighting what is your purpose here, and it's calling up and bringing up these awarenesses of, are
Mm.
you holding the light and like emitting the light that you know you're here to carry? And it's all
Mm.
about getting in touch with the I am. Who am I here to be? What is my service? And that's, I mean, what an exciting thing, like portal of time
Yeah.
that we get to step into and share together at this retreat.
Absolutely. In my experience, cleansing has been kind of like a make or break for my clients in whether they really move through something or they repeat a pattern.
Mm.
And when you think about what it actually takes on a mental, emotional, physical level to follow through with only juicing for so many days,
Mhm.
um, it really requires you to let go of the emotional things that have maybe been behind some of the things that you've been eating, or the reasons why you've been doing the things you've been doing.
Right.
And what's beautiful about being intentional with it is it's really going to put things under a microscope of why you're doing what you're doing. And it brings it into a whole deeper level. Not to mention, it really assists people in coming back fully into their body, right?
Mhm.
When we start eliminating these things, the psychology around food is really fascinating to me. But what happens also in the brain when we eat foods that are fat, sugar, and salt based, all that does is stimulate the addictive part of the brain.
Mm.
And they've basically, like, we can live without that. That's like the one part of our brain we could live without ever being stimulated.
Isn't that
And
Mm.
wild?
so it's almost like it's like there as like a test, right? Of like, you have free will, how much energy are you going to actually give to this thing that doesn't do anything for you,
Right.
you know, other than avoid, distract, and create more challenges that you really don't need to be experiencing. So unless you want to, like because you choose to.
Yeah.
But there's something that's so powerful when people really are intentional about letting go of those things, getting really honest with themselves,
Mm.
and they experience themselves in their body in a whole new way. It's like they start smelling more things and they're more grounded and they just feel more and they're like, wow, I love walking. Like all of these simple things that make us aware of the beauty of life is
Yeah.
available to us if we were to just quiet out all the rest of the noise, right? That shows up in these different ways. And food is a big part of that.
Is there any sort of light you can shine on people that might be kind of nervous at the idea of not having their comfort foods, and maybe encouraging them to tap into the subtle energies of like what it feels like to cleanse and how their body can expect to feel after the first couple of days and all that?
Yeah, I think you can expect feeling a lot better than you think you're gonna feel.
Mm.
And the great thing about doing it in this retreat setting is that you're not gonna be alone. You're gonna have full support. I'm gonna be here with you. And whatever comes up, we're gonna just move through it. It's gonna be that simple.
Mhm.
Um, and all you have to do is really just allow yourself the experience. And when
Yeah.
we when we detach ourselves from, it's almost like needing to repeat, right? Needing to just repeat the pattern. And I don't think anybody that's gonna sign up is gonna want like
Yeah.
continue their pattern.
They're not there to
No,
repeat.
I can't imagine they
Right.
will.
Especially I think once you know something, you can't unknow it. And
Hmm.
Exactly.
so it just makes your experience even that much better.
Mm.
Um, and what's beautiful about doing this with all of us, doing this with me, is that you're also going to have the tools to now uh, do a cleanse for yourself at any point in time. I mean, I love doing them at least twice a year. I'll do them in the spring and in the fall. And it's just such a great time to kind of clear out um, things from the previous season. I think those that are called, like this is gonna be really powerful for everyone.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I've done fasting before, for spiritual reasons, not really for dietary. And when I did, I noticed like the first 2 days I got real bitchy.
Oh no.
Like real like kind of agitated. And I know like you were mentioning the addiction that we all have in this culture to, fats,
Mm.
different chemicals, and that like almost like fake what dopamine should feel like to
Mm.
us. And I remember those were the first 2 days were the hardest, but once I got to that third day, I felt like I was glowing.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. Usually the hardest part to get through is like day two.
Hmm.
Um, and once you're past a certain point, your body is switching, right?
Yeah.
Like your body switches from its biochemical mechanism of processing into using life force energy and more of the pranic energy. And getting to that space, um, the reason why we're only doing 3 days of juicing is really like if you've never done a cleanse before, this is really like probably what your body is ready for.
Mm.
Hmm.
Um, and in ways you can work up to doing longer cleanses. The longest one I've done is 21 days, and
But just juicing?
there's such a sense of accomplishment right afterwards.
Hmm.
Um,
I
but
bet. I mean, the time's gonna go by also.
Hmm.
It's like detoxing from a lot of things. Whenever I'll detox from something in my life, like I'll feel uncomfortable at first, but then even after the first day, my whole body, I can feel it start rising up and coming
mhm.
online to something more healthy and more fluid. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to like
yeah.
feel
I,
it. after that initiation.
Sorry, say that again.
I'm really excited to see what my body feels like after like really being so intentional with the initiation of cleaning it out. And just
Mhm.
like getting through that first day, I feel like I'm gonna be like, all right, I can do day two, and I'm gonna be excited about day two. And yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Um, I want to clarify. I mean, I think the main priority for those that do feel called to join, I think should be spiritual. You know,
Mhm.
I the more the more that I have just made my relationship with the divine a priority, um, the more I want to honor my body. And
Mhm.
so for me, that's what this retreat is about, is being that spiritual bridge from spirit, mind and body
Mhm.
integrated.
Mhm.
Um, and I think what people will also gain from this experience is learning how to listen to what their body's communicating, in a more subtle way. And as a practitioner, I truly I see this as truth, is that symptoms do not need to become these loud symptoms
Mhm.
Mhm.
if we learned how to listen to the messages when they first begin on a subtle level.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful said. Yeah.
when we talk about increasing self-awareness, our body is part of that. It's not just the increasing our intuition and our direct knowing is incredible, but I think it's really just from what I've seen in the spiritual community, what I've experienced, bringing the body in and really giving the body a voice and acknowledging that like the body is here is so important. It's so important. That's what we came here to have a spiritual experience as a human.
Yeah, and
So,
it's a sacred vessel that like we take care of it. We can learn how to use it to its maximum capacity to connect with spirit too.
yeah.
It's such an amazing technology, and it's so easy to let us be persuaded by toxic things because they feel immediately good. But I think it's really, really beautiful that you're helping people come out of that mindset and develop more awareness of the subtle energies of their bodies and how it taps into spirit and helps them.
I want to hear more on the spiritual aspect from you, Tawni, and the emotional growth. Because I know you'd mentioned that there's spiritual traditions or practices that you're incorporating into the retreat. What are some of those that we can, whet the appetite of those who are already excited just from listening to this little bit we've shared?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, what I see is that every day is it's going to be a progression, right? More and more into the body, right? Into within ourselves. And so we'll have morning ceremonies. Really, the objective that I see for this and my intention for everyone is like just complete restoration, with the guided meditations that I'll be taking people through. We're going to connect in with our ancestors. We'll be doing some similar things that I know both of you have gotten to experience in Shasta. Working with our ancestors for me has become a really powerful practice. And it's just this calling that I have to continue to share it. I think a lot of people believe that, on some level, now that they've awakened to healing, that they are now responsible for healing their lineage and their bloodline. And that I don't think that is, fully the case. I think we all have our own responsibility. And when we call upon the responsibility of our ancestors to take responsibility for the things that
Mm.
they are responsible for healing, it can be extremely liberating
Mm.
when you kind of like give all of that energy back to them. And so we'll be going through a process with that. We're going to connect in with them on it in an even deeper way. Um, I'll give you guys tools on how to work with your ancestors any day, all the time. You communicate with them at any point in time. And there's such a deep love. Like when you think about your family lineage, like the love that was there, right? That's been there to bring you forward now into existence. Um, our ancestors really are an incredible support system for us to tap into. And so that's going to be one of the things that we're doing as well. Um, we'll do some gentle yoga and really, you know, um, for me, it's about bringing our consciousness into the body and giving that space to like feel everything that's inside of there. And with each day, more things are going to be coming up. So we're just going to be in a practice of kind of scanning and seeing what's there, seeing what it's ready to be released. And we'll be doing some exercises with that on a mental, emotional, spiritual level as
I
well.
think that session in Mount Shasta with the ancestors was my favorite
Was
that
powerful.
we did, and
Hmm.
everyone received such vivid communication from their ancestors. And like,
Hmm.
I mean, and there were people there who were struggling with their third eye, I remember, and they were
Hmm.
wanting to tap in more, and
Yeah,
everyone was able to tap in during that
very vivid.
session. Yeah, and I think some of that is your work that you've done with your ancestors. I think it's also your gifts with music and storytelling
Hmm.
and the way that you bring people on a journey. Like you really do journey work.
Hmm.
In the way that you almost like you clear the air, the atmosphere, right?
Hmm.
And then you provide like guidance that is from the celestial realms, is what I'd say. And like there's guardians like all over the room
Hmm.
that are helping everyone in there like get clear on what's going on. And I think that's some of your giftings, Tawni, that make it really potent and powerful
Hmm.
and transformative.
And
um,
I just want to say I love that you approach the healing in a way of having the ancestors take responsibility
mhm,
for their healing. And it's like calling upon them to take responsibility rather than light workers feeling like they need to be the ones to tackle everything. Because oftentimes in the life of a person who is service to others, like yourself, a lot of your life you've taken care of a lot of the people in your life. And I feel like sometimes we feel like it falls on us to take responsibility for everyone. I just love that you point out that it's not somebody's responsibility, but it's a way that they can help shine light on the responsibility of their ancestors and call them in and help them clear
mm.
their own
Yeah.
energy. Beautiful.
I
Yeah.
haven't.
Thank you. Thank you both for that. I want to touch on some things you just said because what I see especially in the spiritual community, I see a lot of healers, right? They have like this wounded healer archetype that they carry. Um, and they haven't really learned how to integrate self-care with being a healer.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's something that for me, self-care is what like has led me into healing. So it's really interesting coming from this different perspective of what that even is for me. But I feel like that's something really powerful that I'm meant to bring forward for people to really understand. Because on any level, every single one of us as an individual are responsible for our own healing. You know,
Mhm.
there's no one person that's gonna do it for them.
Yeah.
But I do think the clearer we're able to have our channel and our vessel, the more we're able to be heard and understood and seen by others that actually resonates with the truth that's within everyone.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's something that I've seen quite a bit of just even like these massive big time healers and if we only knew what was going on in their private life as far as like their health, um, I think it would shock a lot of people, like to know that these people are actually struggling with those things.
I wanted to circle back real quick to yoga with you, because talking about these conditioning that we grew up in. For me, growing up in the Christian culture, I've had to shed some of that conditioning, and yoga was always kind of portrayed as this demonic practice that we do. And
Mm,
I found in my own research and self exploration that yoga actually activates different organs in the body. I'd love to hear
mm.
you share a little bit more on what you found in your own research and discovery.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the perspective of it being demonic is comes from, right, like these different deities that each pose um really
Invite.
celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Right. Well, and that's the misperception is that they're inviting like these deities to possess their body by doing these poses, where in
right.
fact the practice of yoga itself is about release, is about letting go. And we're not taking you're not taking any, you're not taking on spirits. You're
Yeah.
releasing energy that you've been carrying in your body. And yoga actually originated, the first yoga pose was sitting and meditating in connection with God. Like that was the first yoga pose there ever was. So
Yeah.
then it became like, wow, well, I'm gonna connect with God in this movement, in this movement, in this movement. Um, the act of twisting that happens in yoga too is so incredibly powerful for the digestive system and just wringing out and and um, every single pose in yoga starts from a foundation, right? So even like the way we're sitting right now is like if you were aware of your feet on the ground as your foundation, and the way that your ankles and your knees stack over over them, and like how your hips are, and are your hips opening up this way, or are you in a stable position? Everything starts from the foundation up. And for me, what I've really appreciated about it is just, again, it's bringing that conscious thought and awareness into the body, whereas we can so easily get distracted to where we numb out. We're not even aware of our body, you know with the different things that we're engaged in. And it's like, how can we bring that engagement and all of those things back into the present moment to be fully present, like in our body, here in the now?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm.
Beautiful.
I hear you saying it's like a skill set to become more present.
Absolutely.
That's something.
Absolutely. It's really easy to tune out and to float off and to try to escape. And um, I think, like, if anything, that's really that's like the essence of what my retreats are about, what my practice is about, is how to be consciously more present.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because that takes intention, that takes awareness. And it's like, if we're not focused on that, then what are we focused on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this reminds me of the session we had on the top of Mount Shasta.
Oh yeah, our session with you, right when after the retreat when we parted ways, and then it started hailing
And snowing.
and snowing.
We got kicked off after the interview session, but
That was so powerful though. We were
um,
just streaming tears, and you brought up so many amazing things like deep within us that really helped us connect with each other and our purpose. It
in
was so beautiful.
the way that you access the information in our bodies, it was like stored in our bodies, and you were able to, like, through different movements and gestures and even like a list of herbs and like this like beautiful system that you have, you were able to nail down truths that almost were like in the background for us,
Mm.
almost like in the subconscious, and you were able to bring them to the conscious. And that, I think, that's like what you do at your retreats. Like you provide that service for people to get really crystal clear on what's blocking their light.
Hmm.
Thank you for saying that. That's such a beautiful awareness you have, because in ways that's been in the background for me, what has motivated a lot of my practice, which is fully bringing the unconscious to the conscious. Because in that way, we're able to reason with it. We're able to make new decisions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think like with both of you, we went back to different ages, right? And where just these decisions had been made that had been completely like lifetimes prior to you two coming together in ways. And how powerful, right? Like just past decisions, programming can be running and
Yeah.
creating distortion in our present time.
Yeah.
And so I love that, like, that you picked that up, because um for me that's just that's what true healing is about, is when I'm confronted with myself and my own free will and my own choices, what I've chosen to carry, and being like, wait a minute, there's actually like, I don't need to carry this anymore, and how beautiful, and I can rewrite this
Mm-hmm.
in a new way that supports and is loving to the present and to my present relationship, and how I can be even more present now that I've retrieved this part of myself that just was kind of going against the grain.
Mhm.
And yeah.
And it can be so scary sometimes to release like the comforting patterns that we have too,
Mm-hmm.
because they like keep us going, and they've like it's what we've based our connections that we've made on, and so much of our life. And it takes a
Yeah,
lot of,
because it's what you've known.
yeah,
It's what you've known, and it's what's been comfortable.
yeah.
And what I think is so really awesome about all of this is for those that have been afraid, right, to kind of access these past points and information. It's like you've already lived it. You already lived it. Like the worst is already behind you. You
Yeah.
know, you've already experienced it. So now we just get to identify what it is, and kind of what the perpetration is that's been attached to this story or these narratives, and make a new decision, see it from a higher perspective, and release it.
I'm excited to see more of that at the retreat
Mm-hmm.
coming up, because Mount Shasta was so powerful. And I mean, we could tell stories for days about just
Mm-hmm.
like what we saw, what we encountered in ourselves and each other,
All the
and like
sacred places you took us to around the mountain
the Native
to
American
connect with the
sites.
local obsidian and Medicine Lake and Pluto's Cave, and these places that are so sacred to the natives and have all these deep energies that are still resonant with them, and you really helped everybody feel it.
I know in Joshua Tree, because like it was really powerful, Tawny, to watch you approach the land and
Mm,
educate everyone on the natives and how they use the land and what it meant to them
mm-hmm,
and where they might have stood or how they would have used the divots in the rocks, or like just the things that you could see, giving the vision of the sacredness in the
mm,
practices was just mind blowing. It was so fun. It like put me in that atmosphere, and I was able to see the Native Americans that you spoke about, and I was able to like honor them and speak with them. And I mean,
mm-hmm,
we had such an interesting one story I want to bring up, I think is really powerful, and like some of the work you do here as a grid worker as well. Um, Myke was drawn to the spot. Actually, we were both drawn to it.
mm-hmm.
And like I had found gold bracelets, and we'd all gone through it. No one had seen
Oh
it.
yeah, was that one? Yeah,
And
where they
Myke
have
was
the
like,
ceremonies.
he gets over there and I told him, I was like, I found these bracelets. He's like, huh. He like comes over there and he's like feeling out the air, and he's like, I feel like something's buried right here. And he
That
just
was a funny
starts,
moment.
you start digging. And Tawny, you're like, like, it's like sacred land, right? And I was like, oh, what, like, how's this gonna feel? And you totally saw, you could feel Mike's energy and you understood what was happening. And Myke, you pulled out like a
Well, I think you could feel, and a few other people could feel that like that was kind of an energetic hot spot
mm-hmm,
between these rocks, and it was kind
mm-hmm,
of a sacred spot where
mm-hmm.
energy flows out.
Yep.
And it seemed like somebody intentionally like put something there to almost like block it, and it was
Mm-hmm,
like blocking the energy flow of it.
mm-hmm.
And it was a
Yeah,
recent thing. It was like a big concrete pylon thing.
Yeah.
yeah, that location I was having everybody stand on because it actually was a feminine vortex
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
that was very clearing and it was going down into the earth.
mm,
And I remember standing on it and feeling it and thinking that the energy that was very subtle there that day.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you had dug out this, it was like a 50-pound
yeah.
Big.
sculpture of like a
Column.
I,
Yeah, it was like a short column.
column.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. We have pictures of it too. We might be able to cut in here, but he pulled this out. I was like, get it, like whatever it is, get it out, because it's not supposed to be in there. And he pulled it out, and that vortex magnified by like 10 times over was so much stronger. And then everybody went through it again um, to feel it even more. But it was just, that was such a beautiful experience um, with everybody just feeling into the land and what they were seeing, what they were feeling. And Mike, there were so many times throughout our trip where you were just drawn to something that was completely out of sight. And you're like, look at this. And you're like, you were finding crystals all over the place and all these little treasures. And that was so amazing to have had you discover that column and to pull it out, because I know that those of us that are aware of that location come there to meditate and to experience those energies. And so fascinating that somebody had put something in there.
I want to add to it. On the bottom of the column, there was initials written in it, and they were
mm.
the initials of my ex-husband. Which to me, I was like, Mike's clearing this energy, this like heavy column, and it's got like this, these initials on them. I was like, I was just watching, and
Let
I'm
the
like,
feminine energy flow again.
whoa. And then on
Wow, I
top of
didn't know that.
yeah, I didn't bring it up because it's not about me. It's like about that spot, But I just when I was watching all this, I thought to myself, wow, what a gift Tawni's giving to people in these spaces to allow them to explore and discover their own giftings,
Mm,
and just how beautifully you held everybody in those moments where they were almost like operating in their full gifting,
mm,
and their full senses. Like you provide such a playful and safe and like sacred environment for people to tap in.
mm-hmm,
And that's just one of many, many stories I can think of where I saw you do this.
Thank you. It brings me so much joy to see everybody in their gifts. And I feel like that's really what I desire to see moving forward as we progress in society. And I think that's just the way that we're moving anyways. And
yeah,
so I'm grateful to be able to hold that space and
yeah,
for everybody to get to experience what that's like being with each other in their gifts, you know,
yeah.
without lack or limitation, energies penetrating the space and creating just distorted energy between each other, creating competition and just lower experiences. I think many of us are just ready to experience each other in our gifts and in being direct and communicating whatever it is from a place of non-detachment of like, okay, like you don't want to participate, or you're not feeling called to participate with me in this experience. I fully honor that. Like I'm not going to force you or anything like that. I trust the divine within you to do what is best for you. And like I see, just fireflies like flying all their different ways, like it just being like this magical experience that we all have available to us. Um, it's
And it's
like
hard.
we all have an unlimited source for each and every one of us to tap into.
I feel like it's hard to tell beforehand like what kind of transformation will be had with this kind of thing, especially with how amazingly transformative a physical cleanse and a spiritual and attunement can be. But I keep recalling like there were a handful of people at the retreat last time that they were having trouble breaking through and connecting, and they really wanted to have a transformative experience, and everybody got such an amazing transformative experience from just feeling so supported in the space by all of us and seeing other people share their experiences too. It's like a you could hear the people that were second guessing if they are understanding that they have an experience, and then the people who are being true to themselves, they're like, no, I am experiencing this. And you could see that come out of people and
Mm-hmm.
come out on the other side with a whole new enlightenment about what they are and who they are.
I don't think anyone who left from this walked back into their life. Like it's almost like everyone who left that Mount Shasta retreat walked in with a brand new like lens
Hmm.
to see their reality.
Oh yeah, whether they're coming from New York City or the mountains somewhere, because we had a whole bunch of people coming from cities
All
and all sorts of
over,
stuff, and
yeah. Oh my
everybody
gosh.
just like discovered such deep parts of themselves being in nature and connecting with Gaia and connecting with Mount Shasta. And imagine Joshua Tree is, from the time we've spent there, it's just such a powerful land.
Mm,
I'm really excited for everybody to experience it being
yeah.
there.
In terms of guidance, do you like what kind of guidance do you provide for participants to maintain what they access at the retreat?
Yeah. Well, I think as far as like maintaining what comes up and what comes forward is really just it's gonna be natural in what's activated in their knowing. Like I said before, once you know something, you can't unknow it. Um, but I will be providing if there are nutritional things that come up for people, they'll go home with any of those protocols that they might need to continue supporting. Um, I think everyone is so unique. It just really depends on who comes with what else they might need to address. Everybody at the retreat is going to have a private one-on-one with me. So um, a lot of anything that really needs addressing on any level will pretty much cover during that session. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what I do, kind of some similar things of what Cassie and Mike were sharing in a session I had with both of them. Um, so if someone's intention is to, let's say, be headache free, I use this example quite a bit. I will ask their body what their body, I'll make sure that their body operates or it resonates with the intention of optimal well-being. And whether I'm working with somebody who has headaches or somebody who has a chronic illness, um, if they have cancer, anything, it really doesn't matter. My first priority is to make sure that they're in resonance with healing, so that they think they want to heal and that they feel they do.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the first part of my sessions are always getting people in alignment with what it is that they know their heart wants, but it's like they might be carrying things in their subconscious that are creating these challenges, and it's like things just aren't flowing. So we clear up that energy first. And then I'll go into priorities and we'll ask the body what it knows that it wants to address first
Mm-hmm.
to achieve healing. We call this the healing mode, right? Our healing mode is when our parasympathetic nervous system is fully activated and engaged. It's the same thing of the power of like full engagement in athletes or these high executive people, where the more relaxed you are, the more likely you are to succeed, right? So what I see that as is like everybody's operating in their healing mode when they're fully relaxed. They're accessing their body's innate wisdom to just be in the flow of things, and it's just an innate intuitive knowing experience that's available to us. So whether it's something physical, it's something mental, emotional, it's literally all the same. Like it's all connected. So we just find out what that is, that the priority is that the body wants. Um, and just to kind of share some of those priorities, I I I correct things on a structural level, exercise and rest. Maybe your body needs more exercise, or maybe it needs more rest. Um, Sometimes like exercise will come up if your body needs some help pushing out some energies. And then rest is pretty self-explanatory. But so cleanse is another one. Cleanse, sometimes we need, the body needs help. It's been struggling with eliminating some things to clear out the channels so that this other energy can really flow easily through you. So cleansing the physical body, addressing nutritional components, whether it's the body wants more of something nutritionally, there's deficiencies, or there's toxicities, it wants less of something. And then also with toxicities, there's kind of this category of food allergies and intolerances, right? That create electrical weaknesses, whether they're extremely noticeable electrical weaknesses or they're very subtle, and that's what we call intolerances. Um, there's the emotional component. So we go back to the age at which the body last remembered being strong for this thing, right? Which,
Mm.
I'm curious, what was that experience like for you?
For me, it was
Yeah.
interesting 'cause you nailed down a word called, I'm just going to share it. You nailed down the word mustard for me. And as a kid, I hated eating mustard. Like, like I just hated it. And, when you revealed that word to me and gave it as like part of my practice that I left with, and I want to talk a little bit about what I experienced when I did the protocol you gave me, because whoa. But yeah, mustard was such a poignant thing when I was like 8 years old, 6 years old, in that range. So you kind of like time traveled
Mm.
with me to my child self, and you were able to nail down a pattern that had happened when I was like first had mustard, to like what mustard meant to me, like I think even as like a young Christian, like I always wanted like one of those mustard seed necklaces. I loved like that word about how if you had like faith the size of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain, or you could,
Mm.
you're gonna sprout one day. Like there was just so much connected to that word for me,
Mm.
and it felt like you like pulled it out of like the ethers. You're like here it is, and I was like, what? Oh, oh. And then like I was having all these connections happen in my mind and my spirit. And then when I ended up taking the protocol, and I take protocol really seriously. Like if someone helps me in some way and I see value, I'm gonna take it
Mm.
seriously. I'm gonna do it, you
Mm.
know. And I went and I did this protocol you gave me every day. And Myke actually filmed. I'll have to send it to you. He filmed me the first day I was doing it. I was so frustrated when I was doing it. I had the privilege of being in Mt.Shasta still while I was doing it. But I began to see lights in my eyes. I began to see different colors. I began to feel electrical circuits in my body like align and kind of like
Mm.
straighten out. And my posture began to change. My mental clarity and like the things I speak about or who I am like became really clear as
Mm.
as I did this practice. And I was blown away by some of the things I experienced doing the stuff you gave me.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
powerful.
it's quite amazing how when we identify the thing that's like throwing other things off, right? How
Mhm.
it all just kind of comes back into place. And that's what a beautiful explanation of the intention behind what these practices are supposed to do.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and what you're talking about too is the emotionally inherited traits, right?
Hmm.
When we clear things that we've inherited, um, it's almost like if a lot of times people aren't even aware that they've been carrying these things until they're cleared. And then it's like you're able to experience yourself in your body in a way you've never experienced before in this body, which can be so uplifting and elevating and literally renewing. It's like you're new, like it's a new you in these ways because it's new energy you've never experienced before.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I would say the circuitry, the electrical, that started to happen in my body through these exercises and this protocol. It almost brought on gifts that I'd always had, like I've always been able to see auras and colors, and I've always like picked up on things through those codes I'd see, but now it's even more vivid. It's
Mm,
it's every day. Every time I'm talking to someone, like the whole
mm,
time I've been talking to you, Tawny, on this podcast, like there's been rainbow over your head, and it like flashes at me, and I'm like, woo, you know, and like there's just like it feels like you gave me something that was lost so long ago
mm.
back, you know.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so thank
um
you. I just like I could brag on you all day with the way that you all this all this that you've developed
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
created.
We're just like, we're so honored to be doing the second retreat with you. For everybody watching, Tawny brought us on to her Mount Shasta retreat that she did in the fall. And we've been friends with her for a while, and it was just such a powerful experience being able to help her host a safe space for people
Hmm.
and just be there for people who are going through a big transformation, helping you facilitate, helping you create the meals and nourish people and providing them with all the things they need to just feel comforted and like they're in the best
Celebrated.
place where they can just transform.
Hmm.
And it was such a supportive atmosphere from the sound sessions, where I just was completely in a trance with your sound healing. It's so amazing how you just find these sounds to create such a soundscape for people to get lost in.
Hmm.
The whole thing was just so powerful. We're really excited to be doing this with you and Joshua Tree again, and that you brought us on again for a collaboration. And yeah, we're really excited.
Well, I'm so grateful that you both are going to be joining me again. And the group, whoever Spirit has in store to join. I feel like if you're listening to this and you're feeling the pull, like something's calling you for a reason. And I just invite you to listen to that because there's so much that's possible and that's available to you, um, when you really listen in on things that don't even always have to make reason. They don't have to make sense. They don't have to be logical all the time. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, for me, this has been a journey for me. I think my healing journey really started at such a young age. Like I believed in Jesus. I grew up in Christianity. I knew healing was always possible. I just didn't see it. I didn't see it and I wanted to see it. And so I my background in psychology and spiritual psychology really like addressing where we put our mind and our consciousness first, and that being in alignment with things that are true. It's like when you think about something that isn't true, it's just there's a lack of resonance
Hmm.
versus when it is true.
Hmm.
um and I think that all of us have like these different blueprints and coding within us of like where we are to best focus our attention. And I truly believe that what I have been shown is the basis of like honoring the creator with what's been created and
Mm.
us as part of that creation and being stewards of the creation is first even really understanding how to honor and respect what we've been given,
Hmm.
including our body and this earth and the planet and each other.
Yeah,
So
I think it's beautiful.
One last question I have is for, because like we made such beautiful community with everyone in Mount Shasta, and I felt like I walked away with sisters and mothers, and I felt like I had sort of formed these almost like a new, like a family connection, with these people. And I know that that's the energy you bring, Tawny, to like create like a safety for people to connect in a way that
Mm.
almost is um, it goes beyond blood, it goes beyond flesh. It's like you like really invite the spirit into everything you do, into community. And so I'm wondering, for those who are interested in the retreat, or those who want to find community with each other after, is there somewhere they can land, or what does that look like for this retreat
yes,
in general?
I think if anybody wants to join community that's been listening to this, we have a Facebook group called Pure Essence, which we'll provide a link, right? We'll be able to post a link here. And then also I'll add the link to the retreat if you want to find out really all the details about it and the price and how to sign up. That link will be here as well. And if you want to learn anything else about my practice, my website is holisticsands.com. You can go there and see my offerings. I'm currently working on launching a 21-day experience on um, remembering, reclaiming. That's the word, reclaiming your birthrights. So
Ooh.
it's going to be extremely powerful, right? Because well-being is one of our birthrights. And I think it's like something that is such a calling for me right now is to remind people of what we've been promised in this experience and that what's
Mhm.
actually available to us when we listen and when we are obedient to divine law and divine will and the laws of nature and all of those things, how simple life could actually really be and how full of spirit and how full of soul it could be. So keep an eye out for that. If that's something you want more info to, I just suggest you to subscribe to my news channel, my newsletter, and as soon as that's out, you'll get all those details. Because I know there's so much anxiety around like what's going on Earth right now, and it's just I think there's such a deeper level of trust that's really here, and like it's happening. We get to be part of it.
It is.
If spirit is calling you as a couple to step up into certain ways, like would you guys have anything to share if there's any couples that feel called to join this retreat?
That's a great question.
What messages are they getting that maybe they're not listening to?
I know. Oh, you want to say something?
You go first.
I was gonna say for me, just having a spiritual connection with my partner is just like the most important thing in my life, and being able to go through a transformative healing experience where we're helping care for other people too
Mhm.
is incredibly powerful. And I know from our experience helping with the retreats and helping with nurturing people and providing safe space, so powerful. But also it felt like everybody at the retreat provided that safe space too. And
Mhm.
so I think it's such a healing place for if couples want to join.
Mhm.
And it's definitely helped us working with Tawny through going tapping into our child selves
Mhm.
and working with Tawny with the sound healing, the sacred lands, and all
Mhm.
the things around the transformative events of the retreat that have really helped us grow closer. So
I would say there's power in, like, if you're a couple and you feel like you're missing each other, like your ships in the night,
Mm,
like you almost like you deeply desire to just like feel each other in like ways that maybe you did in the beginning, maybe it got stale, you know,
mm,
maybe there's a deep desire to serve together or to be almost like aligned with each other when you're in service and to see each other more, to hear each other more.
mm,
Um, I would suggest if you're a couple and you're coming on this retreat, do your session together with Tawni. Let
mm.
Tawni work with you
Yes.
to in front of like it's almost like you're standing naked in front of each other with Tawni, and Tawni's like helping reveal parts of your, you know, your spirit body to each other. And it is I can't even put a value on getting to see Myke in that way and him getting to see me and to share that almost
Hmm.
like time travel that you took us through, Tawni, and like being able to be vulnerable with each other is the biggest gift to
Hmm.
intimacy. So if you're struggling with intimacy with your partner,
Communication,
this is it.
or
Yeah.
understanding each other on a fundamental level too.
Mm-hmm. And what intimacy is, into me you see, right?
Oh, I like
Into
it.
me you see intimacy.
Hmm.
And so that would be my recommendation if you're a couple and you're thinking about gifting for Valentine's Day, or you're thinking about what can I do to see my partner, make them feel loved. This retreat is the ultimate thing you could do, I think.
Mm.
And also
Beautiful.
we'll be in that Facebook community as well. We'll be sharing our own resources, and you know, things that we think are helpful for the retreat, coming up energy updates that we're getting
Hmm.
along with Tawni. And I think the community is going to be a really fun place to be for those who want to be involved.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. Perfect. Thank you both for sharing that. Yeah.
Well,
What I also am looking forward to at this retreat is providing the space. There's going to be a sauna, there's going to be a pool, um, there's there are bathtubs. So like if you want to take a salt bath, there's going to be those. So it's going to be just a really amazing time to self nurture and
yeah.
allow yourselves to just decompress and feel the things that maybe you've been putting off.
Mm.
So if you've been putting things off, I invite you to join. Like, don't wait anymore.
I love it. Let's do
Cool.
it.